Have you ever watched a show that just, I don't know, completely pulled you in, captivated you, but you felt like, despite how good it was, it never really got the spotlight it deserved?
Oh, absolutely. You find these gems, these series that juggle like darkness and humor and real emotion,
Yeah.
and it feels like, why isn't everyone talking about this? It's tough to pull off.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. The Magicians. It was this fantasy show, ran for 5 seasons on Sci-Fi, 2015 to 2020.
Right.
And our mission, really, for this deep dive is to kind of unpack why it gets called a 5-season masterpiece, 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, but also gets tagged as criminally underrated. How can it be both? So we'll look at its strengths, how it adapted the books, and importantly, what the viewers themselves thought.
Yeah, and for that, we've been looking at this Screen Rant article, the one called Every Fantasy Fan Should Watch This 5-Season Masterpiece with 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. But maybe even more interesting is the comments section on that article. It's like a gold mine of different takes, passionate opinions, conflicting views. It really adds layers beyond just the main article.
Totally. So let's set the stage a bit. For anyone maybe not familiar, The Magicians.
Yep.
It's based on Lev Grossman's books, right?
The trilogy.
And the article describes it as a modern, darker take on the magic school story, which feels right. It kind of felt like it has dragged that trope into the 21st century. It made it more adult.
Yeah, definitely more adult. And the article is pretty bold, actually. It says the show really made its mark on the fantasy sphere.
Right,
Calls it one of the best additions to the fantasy genre of the 2010s, even suggesting it shouldn't be overlooked next to huge hitters like Game of Thrones.
That's a big claim, comparing it to Thrones.
It is. But, I mean, look at the scores. That 91% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes is, well, it's huge. Critics clearly loved it.
Yeah, 91% is massive consensus, and the audience score, 74%, still strong, shows a dedicated fan base, even if maybe not quite as universal as the critics.
That little gap is interesting, though, isn't it? Like, maybe that's part of the underrated thing. Super high critical praise, strong audience love, but maybe it's a specific blend of dark and weird and funny made it harder to catch on super broadly.
Could be. It wasn't exactly an easy show to pigeonhole. And speaking of its unique qualities, the way it handled the adaptation, that's a big point in the article.
Right. It claims the show actually surpasses the books in a few ways, specifically in developing the character relationships more fully than the novels maybe did.
And that lines up with what some viewers were saying in those comments we looked at. One person was really clear. They said the show was better for them.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Said it added so much more depth to the characters and the story. Felt the books fell a little flat by comparison. That's high praise for an adaptation.
It really is. But, you always get the other side, too.
Oh, for sure.
There was another comment saying, basically, nowhere near as good as the books. Just flat out.
Yeah. Classic adaptation debate, right? Can't please everyone when you change the source material.
Never. But it seems like, love the changes or hate them, the characters were the core appeal for most people. The article says the story was always gripping, but it was the characters who kept us invested.
That makes sense. It got really emotional sometimes. The article even mentions one of the saddest scenes in any fantasy TV show.
Oh, I think I know the one they mean. Yeah.
Which just shows, it wasn't afraid to prioritize that character and empathy.
And the cast delivering that, just phenomenal. The article calls them a stellar ensemble cast. Jason Ralph, Stella Maeve, Hale Appleman, Arjun Gupta.
And the comments, someone called it insanely good casting and then listed, everyone.
I saw that list. It was huge. Olivia Taylor-Dudley, Summer Bashil, Stella Maeve again, Jade Taylor, Keegan Connor.
Brittany Curran, Rose Liston, Magina Tova, Casey Roll, Esme Bianco. It just goes on and on.
Rian Steele, Candace Kane, Madeline Arthur, Jules State, Felicia Day. I mean, wow.
J. Marie Newman, Ann Dudek, Marlee Matlin, Garcelle Beauvais, Dina Meyer, Cameron Manheim.
Jolene Purdy, Madison Beatty, Tembi Locke, Alexi Gilmore, Katie Finley, Emma Dumas. It's like a who's who. That sheer volume of praise for the casting tells you something, doesn't it?
It really does. People connected with these performances deeply.
And it wasn't just the cast, apparently. The article makes another pretty big claim. Consistent quality. Really consistent.
Yeah, it says, usually there's one season that doesn't measure up, but this isn't the case with The Magicians. No bad season.
That's rare. especially for 5 seasons.
Yeah.
How did they manage that, according to the article?
Well, it seems tied back to that adaptation point. They weren't afraid to make changes to Grossman's text, right?
Yeah.
To make it work better for TV, make the characters even more vivid.
So being willing to evolve beyond the books actually helped maintain quality.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
And it meant they could do 2 whole seasons after they'd basically used up the main book plot. And season 3 is called out as especially well imagined.
And they threw in some major twists, didn't they? Stuff that really shocked people.
Oh, yeah. Devastating twists, the article says, things audiences never saw coming.
But the argument is, those twists didn't hurt the quality. They actually made sense for the story.
Apparently so. The article argues almost all of its narrative choices make sense and benefit the overall story, which is, again, high praise for a show that took big swings.
Big swings, definitely. But there was another element people kept bringing up in the comments, something maybe unexpected: the humor.
Right. That blend. It was dark, it was dramatic, but it was also genuinely funny.
Yeah, people were saying things like, how hilarious the entire run of this series is. Another comment marveled, it's incredible how they were able to make a serious fantasy drama so hilarious without feeling cheesy.
That is a fine line to walk, making serious stuff funny without undermining it.
Exactly. And they seemed to nail it. Someone just shouted out, Sir Effingham was a riot.
Yes. So that mix. Dark, emotional, funny. That was key. But, okay, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the ending. Or rather, Quentin Coldwater's exit.
Yes. Q. That definitely stirred things up.
Understatement, the comments were intense. Stuff like, still bitter, F them for what they did to Q.
Wow.
Yeah.
And another one just saying, the show ended for me when Q left. Strong feelings.
Very strong. But there's important context there, right? Something that came up in the comments section itself.
Yeah, the clarification that it wasn't like the studio just deciding to axe the character. It was apparently Jason Ralph requesting it.
The actor himself, because he felt the character's arc was complete, that he'd gone as far as it could.
Knowing that. Well, it changes the perspective a bit, doesn't it? It's not just a writer's room decision, then.
It does, but it definitely colored how people saw season 5. Some felt it just shouldn't have happened after Q left.
Right. The season 4 finale, the Take On Me scene, that felt like the real ending for them.
Yeah, some describe season 5 as just okay, or even a mess cobbled together.
But then you had others defending season 5 really strongly.
Oh, absolutely. Like the comment saying season 5 had some of my favorite episodes ever.
Yeah. Praising specific things like the World Seed Quest, or Elliot dealing with his PTSD from the monster.
And that Kraken time loop episode with him and Margot, saying it made the characters even closer.
So even that controversial final season clearly worked really well for some viewers, found new depths.
Exactly. Polarizing, yes, but still delivering quality moments for a chunk of the audience. The article basically concludes the show stayed strong, that it's still fun to watch now.
Which brings us, inevitably, to the cancellation.
Yep. Sci-Fi cut short after season 5, end of the road.
But there's this kind of interesting take on it, like a silver lining.
Yeah, the idea that the creators kind of saw it coming or suspected it.
So they could actually plan a proper finale, give it a satisfying end.
Exactly. And the argument is that meant the show never had the chance to start losing momentum. It ended with a bang, kept its special quality instead of fizzling out.
Avoided the fate of dragging on too long, maybe, which can happen.
Definitely. But, you know, even with a finale that some felt was satisfying, you still see it in the comments.
People wanting more.
Yeah. Always holding out hope that the magicians might come back one day.
Though, fair point, not everyone agreed the end was perfect. Some did say the last couple of seasons went a bit silly. So maybe ending wasn't the worst thing for everyone.
True. It's always mixed. So what a ride, huh? We've seen how The Magicians gets called this masterpiece, critically acclaimed, high scores.
But also criminally underrated. And navigating all those really passionate fan views, loving the adaptation, hating it, loving the ending, hating it.
It's clear, though, whatever your take on specific bits, it delivered something unique. That blend of magic, real darkness, surprising laughs. It really stuck with people. Made its mark.
Definitely a significant show. And it really highlights that challenge, doesn't it? A show daring to change its source material, make these bold, sometimes shocking choices.
Right. Thrilling some fans, upsetting others.
So thinking about that whole journey, from the books to the show's own path, its controversial moments, what does The Magician's story teach you, our listener, about that tricky balance, that line between, the creator's vision, what the fans expect or want when you bring these beloved stories to the screen.